Good afternoon. What are you waiting for? How's it going, everybody? Thank you to anybody that is joining me live. The comment section is open now, live and afterwards. Happy to answer any questions on this exact topic. What are you waiting for? Please don't say Christmas. This has been a big topic this week. And normally, a lot of my lives, a lot of my conversations that I bring to you are from real life conversations, and this one has been coming up. I know it's not quite the song, but it's "We live on procrastination." I know it's not the word, but we do. We constantly are delaying things, and action is a lot more simpler than we make out. And I wanted to share that with you today. I wanted to give you some real life examples. Obviously, I can't share anybody's names and can't get into too much detail, but I've got a couple of client stories for you today. If anybody is listening here live, if there is an action that you've been avoiding, if there's a task that you've been avoiding, I want to answer some live ones today, if they come up or if I have time to. So please pop them in the comments. I'll try and keep an eye on it and see if I can include your real life example of something that you've been delaying and been putting off, and try and help you take action on that today. Because most people love to blame Christmas. I had a really heavy Christmas, but Christmas in the grand scheme of things is less than a week, really, if you count the days up. Most people's problems is they don't recover even from the summer holidays. They maybe just not taking action at all. But people say in the summer holidays, September, when the kids have gone back or when things are back to normal, then it doesn't happen. October comes around, it gets cold, and we just start making even more excuses, and it's delay. Well, action is simple if you have the tools. And that's what I want to give you today. I want to give you the tools to stop delaying and start moving to the life that you want to live, to start thriving and not just surviving. Okay. Because once you know what you want, once you know how you're going to get there, and then when you focus on the now, you can be successful. And it's a little strategy that I'm going to go over with shortly. But you see, I would say the biggest reason why people delay things, from my experience and the point that I'm at now, I'm 14 years deep working with humans in body transformation and confidence and performance. The biggest thing I've noticed is people delay things due to overwhelm. And that's the overwhelm of the task at hand. We focus so much on the future. It's a very big dopamine thing. The molecule of more. The name of a book. If you ever want to learn more about dopamine, the molecule of more. It's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend you going to read that. But because it drives us to more, we're constantly planning for the future. And when we take on any task, it's as simple as it might be. If we take a body transformation on, automatically, if I say to you, right, start a body transformation right now, all the things that would be going through your head would be like, right, got to go to the gym, got to have maybe some new gym kit, I've got to start thinking about my food, I've got to start thinking about eliminating certain foods like alcohol and sugar and things like that. Then I've got to top up my water, I've got to get steps in. Oh, but I've got to do this around the school runs, or I've got to do this around my business. God, just really haven't got the time. And that's one that's going to come up very shortly as time, but that often isn't necessarily always the problem. The problem is further down the line, where we start thinking that there is so much to do that it's easier to say don't do it because it becomes overwhelming. We get anxious, and and we all experience it. I had it this week. Where there was a lot going on. I have a busy life. I like my life busier. But this week I was like, right, I got to do that, got to do that. And I could just feel this overwhelm kicking in. And the first thing I did is I removed something that didn't directly serve me at that moment in time. And just removing that one thing allowed me an extra hour and a half back in my day. And I felt a lot better for it. But that's the awareness point that I'm at now, is I'm happy to set boundaries and remove things where I need to remove them. So the thing is with overwhelm is that simple action that you started with now compounds negatively, and it starts compounding into, but if you start exercising, then what happens if you start really getting into the gym and you go 4 times a week instead of 3? God, that's an extra day. I can't do that. And then what happens if you have to start buying all your protein and all your supplements again, and we haven't really got the money to do that? And we start compounding negative thoughts, which becomes very difficult to shift. Our habit circuits are so strong and set in their ways that challenging them, trying to remove them, is actually a threat to our survival. So your brain will often really work hard against not changing a habit. Um, yeah, I'm going to give you some solutions to help you with that, because habits changing is possible. You've seen it probably within yourself. If not, you've seen people around you or stories in the news of people making drastic body transformation changes, or people come from poverty and now are billionaires. These things are possible, but there are strategies to it. We can't just say, hey, I'm going to change and hope for the best. So by the time we finish today, I want to make sure that you've gained an awareness on the reasons behind procrastinating. I want you to go away with solution based approaches that you can implement today, and a desire and energy to want to change long term. Enough with this short term stuff, this quick body transformation for a holiday, then it goes down the pan when you get back. We all want long sustainable change. Nobody offered, hey, I can help you lose a stone for your holiday, but you'll gain it back on, and then some, guaranteed. You wouldn't take it. You wouldn't take it. Everybody wants a long term sustainable change, and with that, you have to do something that you're not normally used to doing. Okay, we're going to get you rolling with this today. So let's start off with a few examples. So these are from current clients. Again, no names, and I'll leave out intrinsic details. The first person that comes to mind this week is somebody that has been recovering from an injury, a sporting injury. But we've been able to train around it. That was one thing in my ice hockey career. I had one big injury, and I actually came back fitter after that injury because I trained with the right people and I was taught how to train. So I now can help my clients with that. So if we've got a lower body injury, we can still train the upper body. If we've got an upper body injury, we can still train the lower body. Even if we have a lower body injury, we may still be able to train the lower body, but we may have to do it in a different way. But this specific injury requires rehabilitation in that area, which is not. Anytime I'm working with a personal training client, my phase is after the rehab phase. I'm not a physio. I understand it very well, but it's not my job. I need it to be rehabbed, and then I take over. So but they were procrastinating on getting that rehab phase started. So replying to an email, reaching out to a physio to get some massage or some ultrasound and things like that. The one thing they said is, I don't have the time. I've been really busy, don't have the time. Now, if we look at it in the most minute detail, replying to an email, what are we talking? A minute, if we know what we're saying. Reaching out to a physio, we're looking at a contact form, a text message, a phone call. We're looking 5 minutes tops. It's not a very long period of time. When we have a lot of overwhelm, we have a lot of things going on in our lives, that is just another task. Now, two issues that we potentially have here, which I discussed with them. One, you're happy to rehab slowly. You're not in a rush to get back playing your sport. Or two, we're not simplifying this approach enough. Now, through conversation, they did want to get back playing sport as soon as possible. They were frustrated, they'd had enough, and they wanted to be rehabbed quickly. Whereas the action showed different because they weren't taking the step into the rehab. So what we then said, okay, so how can we simplify this? What can you do tonight? Because this was an evening session. What can you do tonight to take a step forward? And just in that conversation, we just had a quick chat. I often leave it in the client's position or the ball in their court to come up with the idea. I might drop some ideas, but I say, well, what can you do tonight? And they'll often say, I can reply to the email. So then we maybe get a bit more specific. Okay, cool. So you're going to reply to the email. What time are you going to do it? What are you going to say? Just to get those thoughts out in the open, so they're speaking them. And the next thing you know, they've taken that one step, they've sent that email, that text message, or they've booked that appointment online and off and running. The only way they wouldn't do that is if they forget it. So I often ask them to set an alarm, or I will send a reminder. I don't often like sending too many reminders because that's not helping them remember these key important tasks, but it is part of my job if things are going too far. Obviously I will provide that support. But we had the two situations there. We had the one where they did actually want to rehab quicker, because if they just wanted to rehab slowly, then fine, just don't go see a physio, just let your body do what it needs to do, let it recover. But most people don't want that. And it was and time wasn't really a thing, because the time that the task was going to take was very minimal. If we were thinking that the physio and everything was very overwhelming, I'm gonna have to go to physio all these times, blah 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 blah, that can be a reason why it stops you as well. But this was just purely, it was one task too many for the busy schedule. And we looked to simplify it as easy as we could, that they then started to move forward with that task. Which leads me to the second client, which was more the issue we had with this one in procrastinating was two things: a knock in confidence and an uncertainty on what they wanted to do. Whereas the first client knew he wanted to rehab, but wasn't doing it. This client wasn't an injury based thing. This was more a business based thing, but they were uncertain on what they wanted to do within their working life, which was then creating a pause on actually implementing anything. So if we're uncertain on something, we're not often just going to go ahead and do it. We're going to be more cautious, and we're going to hold back and not want to move forward with that task. So the confidence side comes from the implementation. Action cures fear, action cures anxiety, action increases confidence, it increases decision making. So the key in this element was to help them create a form of action that starts them moving forward from, at the moment, not much, no plan, no direction. So it's easier to stay still. And that's not, again, what that client wanted, because again, that can create stress and guilt and shame, all negative emotions that we want to remove. So with this one, we needed to find out where we're at. What point of this wanting to do what we want to do with our job, where are we at? And again, as much as I'm not a career or business coach, I understand it, and I understand habits, and I understand taking action, and that's a big part of what I do. So in this instance, what we looked at is what do we need to do to get started? Was it updating our CV? Was it getting some profiles out there on some job websites, or doing some research? And what we ended up doing is we looked at what we don't want to do. What don't we want to do for work? Because he was speaking about that quite a bit. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I said, well, have you wrote a list? Can we write these down? Because once we can see what we don't want to do, we can then start looking at what we want to do. And once we've got that one, we can then start creating the CV or our profiles around those wants, so that we can then start having some direction. Now, that can still seem like quite a big task. And I said to him on this occasion, what I don't want you to do is say, for instance, just an example, you're going to go and do your CV. Now, your CV can be quite an overwhelming task. There's lots of sections to it, lots of updates to do. So I said, how about we just open the CV? Just open it on your Word document. That's the task, because that's something more than you're already doing. If it's then open and you want to carry on, great. If you don't, that's fine. You've taken a step forward, and then you can sit down and decide what the next step is for tomorrow or later. So the next one might be, I'm not a massive CV person. I haven't done one for way over a decade, maybe even two. But it might be like your experiences, or your achievements or something like that. You might just pick one section. This is called chunking. The best example I ever heard was, you look at a garage, you open the garage door, and there is mess everywhere. How the heck do you go ahead and sort this out? Well, most people don't. They just keep ignoring it and keep shutting the door. Okay, how about that one box? That one box there that has pictures in. Can we do that today? Yeah, that seems realistic. That's easier. We're just going to do that one. We're just going to put them into a folder and put them back. Brilliant. There's one thing done. Compounding works positively in terms of growing, laying one brick at a time. What they say is Rome wasn't built in a day, but what they were doing is laying bricks every hour. It's the same thing in the removing the negative. You can take one brick away at a time. It compounds, it requires less energy, requires less mental space, and you are more likely to move forward. So that's kind of how we handled that one. That was quite a fresh one, so it'd be interesting to see how that goes, and where they decide to start. Like I said, I like to give them the option of where to start because it's their choice, it's their life. I will just be here to guide, assist, and make adjustments if they need me. The final one, and again, all of these have been this week. Because it is a difficult time. Remember, we are in winter. It is darker. There's less sunlight. We are more inclined to hibernate than to get out there and do things. It's a very much a human nature, a human behavior at this time of year. But it doesn't mean it has to be. Okay. So this last one, fantastic transformation from this client mentally. It's led us to a position where we are doing more physical training now, but that also still coming with a mental challenge. Because we've moved so far, there's certain habits that are coming to light that needs to be created at this point. And these habits now are very much so vital to their long-term goal. What they set as their vision, this behavior now and this habit is essential. And what it is it's an increase in mobility. Their what's the word I'm looking for here? Their relationship with exercise is fantastic. They are moving so much more. They're a lot more relaxed, stress-free. Yet the one factor that's going to stop them getting to that level is their mobility. They are extremely tight. So we've been implementing extra mobility work within our sessions and asking them to do it at home. Yet the homework has improved, but it still needs to be more if we want to achieve their long-term goal, which is one of the biggest things they came to me initially, is they didn't want to be old before their time. They had seen it within their family. They wanted to be young. They wanted to live, and they wanted to get out there. The one thing at the moment that is holding them back is how well they move. So we've been asking them to do some foam rolling exercises at home, but that has been a challenge because it's a brand new behavior that may not have a deeper purpose than the other stuff has that we've worked over a year or so together. So what we had to do here is we had to break this down again. Have you seen the theme here? We have to break these things down into small details. And what we got to do is we picked one muscle group. So, for instance, the first one we chose was the thoracic spine, which is the rib area of your spine. It's known to be extremely tight. We saw this from a few assessments that we did. And what we did is we got them to do one mobility, one foam rolling exercise at an absolute minimum every day, or at least every other day, and worked on that. Now, that's been going for about a week. There's been a huge increase in thoracic spine movement, huge, over just a week period. So then what we've done is we've gone to another muscle group that's very similar. So we've gone to, I'm throwing out some big words for you here today. So we've gone to the QL, which is your quadratus lumborum. Sounds very Harry Potter. But because it's located on the back, because we're getting through the thoracic spine mobility a little bit quicker because it's looser, we're then implementing the QLs, which is the lower back on the side. You probably can't see me pointing, even if you're on video. So we've kind of combined it to make it simple, but it flows nicely. That's the most important part. It flows. It requires minimal effort to change. It requires low energy. And that's our next focus. So we've broken it down to the easiest starting point, because just rolling the thoracic spine is a 1 to 2 minute job at minimum. If you do longer, fine, but you'll get huge benefits from just kind of working through that phase. So it becomes doable now. We don't need the energy. We've got the time. The only issue is, and all of these things, is the purpose. Now I'm going to go through a strategy that I use in a second. But you've often, if you follow my content, you've heard me say purpose, passion, and performance. If you've got a deeper purpose, you'll be willing and passionate to reach it. And then you'll want to perform every day to reach that target. Now, we don't have to perform every day, but there are stuff that we can do every day, even with minimal effort. But that's for another day. But before I give you those strategies at the end, I just want to share with you the toughest question. Probably the toughest question, one of the toughest questions, maybe not one of the toughest questions you may be asked, because I know my clients over the years have struggled with this and it's taken some time to answer it. What is the reason you avoid doing something that you know is going to benefit you? So if you know going to, I don't feel like you have to go to the gym, but okay, what's the reason you're avoiding walking when you know it's going to benefit your health and well-being and life and increase your lifespan and reduce your stress? Most people sit there and they can't really answer it. And if you can, the answer might not necessarily seem good. I don't have the time. Okay, cool. At least we've got something to work with now. If we're going with time, now we can find a solution. So, depending on people's schedule, it might be, could you go for a walk at break time? That call that you have at 10 a.m. that's just a voice call, can you do that as a walk and talk? Can you walk around the office if you can't get out of the office and do a walk and talk, or walk around your house? Um, there's generally a solution for most of our problems if we're willing to look into it. So if you are sitting here today and you have a task that you're avoiding, write down or get a bit of paper out. There's such a power to writing things. Okay. There is a true deep power. Get it out. Don't keep it in here. Get it down and write down. What is the reason that I'm avoiding drinking water when I know it benefits me? See how you ask it. You might say the taste. Okay, fine. So what's the solution around the taste? Well, I could use a little bit of squash, or I could try bottled water, or some people, well, sparkling water is a bit like Marmite, but you know, have a look and see what the solutions are. Ultimately, we don't drink water for taste anyway. We drink for performance, for hydration, for alertness, so our body can function. We may have to switch our perception, but start answering some of these questions and see what you come up with. What's the reason I'm avoiding prioritizing myself, even though I know it will benefit me and the people around me? Answer the question. I'm too tired. I've got no energy. I've got no time. Okay, what's the solution? If you don't know, that's why I'm in a job. You can let me know and I'll see what I can do to help you. But I'm giving you a starting point today. Okay. So once you've answered that question, I've actually only came up with this the other day. I actually quite like it and I'm going to stick with it. What we're looking for in life is a what. What is it we want from this life that we're living in? Once you understand what your what is, how are you going to get there? And once you have an idea of how you're going to get there, what are you going to do now? So it's like a little funnel. They talk about it in sales and all this stuff about funneling people down. The bigger and larger your funnel is at the top of what you want in life should excite you. This could be your vision statement that I always get my clients to do. I always advise everybody to do. You're just being specific in what you want in life, in your health, in your wealth, with your family, your friends, your social life. What is it you want? If it means enough to you, it will excite you every day. I'm very legacy driven. One habit builder is a legacy, has a legacy approach, and it massively drives me to have a legacy for my family, not just financially, but knowledge based as well. Um, and I don't, even when I'm tired and burnt out, I still show up. I find a way to show up and do something that doesn't burn me out even more, but it's more than nothing. And that's a huge part of it, is the legacy side that drives me. So you want to find out what it is you want from life. And if you're unsure, that's a perfect place to start. If you're stuck on it, write down what you don't want. I don't want to be old before my time. I don't want to die young. I don't want to be broke. Okay, now flip those into what you want. Okay. Then the middle of that funnel is the how. How am I going to get there? So when I've set myself business goals of what I wanted to earn, I'd look at how can I get that? And it might be like X amount of followers. It might be X amount of subscribers on YouTube. If I use YouTube as an example, so I remember I did set that one. I've neglected it, but it was an interesting one anyway. So I set on there like I'll get 1,000 subscribers, because obviously you start earning at a certain amount. I think it's reduced now to 500, but get X amount of subscribers. That's how I'm going to help me get to my financial level, because you start earning a passive income. It was just one of them. There was other ones. Then I look at the now. So how can I then go and get X amount of subscribers? Well, I need to post reels or shorts, sorry, as they call them on the YouTube shorts. I need to make sure my content is valuable and interesting. I need to do my SEO on there. Then what I want to do with those nows is make it specific. So on a given data like today, I might say, right, I'm going to create one YouTube short, 30-second YouTube short on habits and post it. I'm going to watch one video on how to improve my YouTube SEO. Then the next task might be implement that said knowledge. You've got to be specific with that now action. If you just say go for a run, make a video, again, it can become very overwhelming because you're trying to finish the piece of puzzle. Try and be nice and specific with that now action, because that's how you're going to get to that next stage, which is then going to lead you to what you want in life. So the funnel works both ways. And that now task, just to round it up on how you can make sure that you stick to it. If your what's strong enough, you won't struggle with your now. I'll put it like that right now. If your what and your vision is powerful enough, you will find a way to keep going. But you have to look at your non-negotiable. Okay? And this is where a lot of people do slip up, is their non-negotiable still too high. I'm going to go to the gym. Okay, cool. So that's what, an hour, 10, 15 minutes in the car each way. Quite tiring. You've had a busy day at work. You sure you're going to do? Sure that's your non-negotiable? I always use it as an example. Like I had one client who would drive past her work to go home. And I said, okay, tomorrow, take your gym stuff, but you don't have to go in. You've just got to go into the car park. Your non-negotiable tomorrow, whatever happens in life, you're going to drive into the gym car park. If you get into the gym car park and you want to go home, that's fine. You've done your non-negotiable. Well done. Pat yourself on the back. You've done it. She went to the gym. She pulled into the car park. She parked. She went into the gym. Okay. She also knew it was absolutely fine if she didn't go to the gym. That is absolutely fine, because again, if we overwhelm and go, yeah, but if I go in that car park, I know I'm going to go to the gym. No, you don't have to. You really don't have to. You're doing a little bit more than what you were previously doing. That's all it needs to be. That compound effect is incredibly powerful if you respect it, if you reward it and you trust it. Okay? Because yes, her going into the car park is going to do minimal in terms of her physical return. But guess what else is also going to do minimal on that one session? Is go to the gym. Okay? Going to the gym, one session out of a whole year or 10 years is going to do nothing. Sweet FA. What is going to do something is the showing up element. You show up to that non-negotiable. You show up at the gym. You walk through the gym door and you come back out again. That showing up and creating that habit is 100 times more powerful than the task itself, because you're more likely then, when you're feeling good, to want to go. Whereas if you're feeling good but you haven't been going, you're not likely to go because you haven't been showing up for the habit. Okay. So a quick recap before I disappear off. Ask yourself that tough question. What's the reason I'm avoiding something when I know it's going to benefit me? Answer that. Look at what you want from your life. How can you reach that? I want to be, I want to be fit as a fiddle in my 90s. I want my health in check. I don't want any problems. I want to squat down to the bottom cupboard when I'm 90, blah, blah, blah. How am I going to do that? Well, that's going to be through my nutrition now, my exercise, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what action do I need to take now, today, not tomorrow, today, to take a step forward to that task? And when I do it, I'm going to say, well done, because that's the most important part of your dopamine. It loves wins. If you feed it with junk and negativity, it will avoid it. If you feed it with positivity and good returns, it will want more of those wins. Okay, so have a think about those today. If you've taken anything away, please let me know in the comments that you've enjoyed the session or you've taken anything and you've implemented. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you're listening to this and going, that hasn't covered my problem, pop it in the comments, send it to me in my DMs if it's personal. I'll see if I can give you a nugget of information that gets you started today, because I want a lot of happy, healthy people this Christmas, not people who are guilty of eating a mince pie, sad because they've been spending all their money on stuff that's going to get thrown in the bin after a few days. I want to see us all thriving. So if I can do that from little bits of information, great. If you need to go deeper, This is what I do. Okay. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and I will catch you all soon. Take care.